The same question again. Can you see me and can you hear me? And if I have that, we will start with that. Can anyone just tell me if they can hear me well and if they can see me well? Anyone? I guess we do have. Okay, so I think there have been a few. Hey, Samarth, can anyone just tell me if my audio and video are proper so that I can start taking questions? We already have almost 14 people in this chat in this live, but I'm still waiting for an approval. Yes, okay, amazing. So, hi Nishant, thank you Om for that. What encouraged us? So, I think you have not watched our Be Backstage the Millionaires 10K story. In that, we actually spoke in detail about it. So, I have been in media for a while. I have been related or associated with the whole startup ecosystem for a while, and that certainly somewhere gave me an idea of doing something for the entrepreneurs and for the budding entrepreneurs. And because I had been in text-based media for a while, I actually wanted to do something uh, in videos, and that's actually where that was around the same time I met Caleb, and that was like we just started with it. So yeah, here we are. So yeah, I think Om had the first question for today. So thank you very much for loving our videos, Om. Uh, I really hope you are liking our content, and I really hope to see you more and more. Hey Sol, good morning. Vinu, do you have a startup? Unless apart from Backstage with Millionaires, if you're asking, so I did have a startup, and I exited that in the beginning of this year, or maybe like somewhere I'm still associated with it a little bit, but not completely associated with it right now. Apart from Backstage with Millionaires, I'm a full-time law student and I am studying my LLB. That was something another thing that I always wanted to do. So yeah, apart from Backstage with Millionaires, the other commitment that I have for today is being a law student. See, Dinesh, what is your answer or opinion if you ask this question? Can I afford to fund my business myself in an initial days? Well, again, I have been telling you these things. Every single business is different. Every single person is different, and every single team is different. So it really depends on what kind of product you're building, what kind of people you're hiring, what kind of city you are in. So if you are, maybe let's just say you are in a tier 2 or tier 3 city, you might not need a lot of real estate stuff. You might not really, if you are just some bachelors just trying to build something fresh out of the college, you might not need a lot of money. But if you're looking to hire someone who is like, let's say, 10 or 15 years experienced, and he or she has kids, and they have family responsibilities, you'll have to pay salaries. So there are actually a lot of these factors which are specific to every single company, which are specific to every single business. So you will have to take in consideration. You cannot simply just keep a blanket thing on that do every single there are a lot of businesses where you can sustain, there are a lot of businesses where you cannot sustain. So as I said, like, it really depends on the kind of people you're hiring, it depends on the kind of location you are in, and it also depends on the kind of idea that you are working on. Are you willing to join someone to start a new startup, Abhinav? Certainly. Like, I have always been in that sort of mindset that I love new opportunities. So I don't know what idea you have. I don't know what you have, but maybe let's talk. Just email us at backstagemillionaires@gmail.com and see what your idea is. Yes, Varun, who is moderating the chat today, he has shared the Backstage with Millionaires story link in the chat, so you should just go check it out. Shivam, you want to join us? Please mail us at backstagemillionaires@gmail.com. We are looking to expand a little bit more. Um, so Shivam, just email us, and maybe depending on your skills, depending on the time that you can give us, depending on the kind of requirements that we have, we might just be able to work something out. Who knows? Samarth, can a founder own a majority of the company with proper investment? Certainly, like, there are a lot of founders who own, if not 100%, even majority of shares, and they are still profitable, they are still like big. So as I said, like, it does not really, this is not a criteria for anything. uh, Sebastian, So, top books and movies recommendation that I would love everyone to see. Actually, I think I've been asked this question a couple of more times. Like, I'm not really someone who reads a lot of books. I do read literally every single news which comes in the business section. I do read a lot, but that is like the articles because 3 to 5 minutes, that's my attention span. I haven't really been a book reader. So, I think that's why we haven't really done any video on book recommendation, but certainly we are actually looking to get some founder who is a bookworm who loves reading books, and then have a session on what are the top books and top movies. So there might be a video where none of me, Caleb or Varun, but someone else, some of the successful founders, they will be recommending you the book. So we are still working on who that founder can be, who that what can be the structure of that video. So wait a little bit for that. But as I said, like, I am not really the best person to advise you about the books. Movies, certainly there are a lot of movies. I like growing up in 2007, I think Guru came, which is sort of the story of Dhirubhai Ambani, and I think I've watched that movie 50 times at least, if not 100. And Wolf of Wall Street, like, we also have Rocket Singh, that's also if you are a salesman. So I might not really be able to tell a lot of movies, but yeah, these Guru was like my favorite when I was growing up. So what's after getting a startup idea? Well, you have to execute that idea if you think that is feasible. As I said, like, please refrain from sending these broad questions. Shivam, can I say any word on how did Apple create its monopoly? Well, Apple actually did something which a lot of us try not doing. Apple actually focused on that status symbol that still we like to flaunt that I have an Apple. We never say we have a smartphone. We say like I have an iPhone. So Apple actually worked on something. Apple worked on the social aspect of it. Apple has never been known for its OS. Obviously, like the kind of optimization it provides, but there are a lot of features which come like years later than Android. The smartphones are not really the best in technology. Obviously, the way they optimize them with their OS, they become pretty good. But the thing that Apple always did was to actually look at the status symbol. They never looked at, if we can create $100 smartphone and there will be like 1 million people buying a smartphone. They were always like, okay, I have to create a $500 smartphone. Even if there are 10,000 people buying my smartphone, I'll be just fine. So they actually always played the margin game. So if you are, if you just want to earn, let's say 1 lakh rupees, and so you have to options. You can either sell a 10 rupee product to 10,000 people, or you can sell a 1,000 rupee product to 100 people. So actually Apple went the other way. Apple just wanted to sell those 100 people that product worth 1,000 rupees, and that's something that has worked for Apple. And certainly, like, as we see, Apple has, as of today, I think Apple has more cash than the US government. There like a lot of times we keep reading that news. So that was one thing. Apple actually played with the minds of people. Apple actually wanted to just create a status symbol right from day one. And even when they launched their first computer, it was, I think, 1,100 US dollars in 1974. So that has been one thing which Apple really did. Apple is still doing, and well, you see where Apple is today. Vinu, in what field your startup is? What's the name of your startup? It was in media. The name was The Indian Wire. Right now, this is the only startup that I have, Backstairs Millennials, if you want to consider it as a startup. Um, Pandey Piyush, do you think Geo has the ability to disrupt other fields like education, health, and retail the way it disrupted telecom sector? Certainly, like Geo, or maybe not Geo, like I think Geo Platforms, that's the name of the new company. They have been actually acquiring a lot of these startups. They acquired Imbibe Education, they acquired Haptic, which is an AI startup. They actually acquired at least more than 50 startups in last 4 years, 4 5 years. So Geo is already looking to get to that place. Geo is already looking to actually, make use of all the money that Reliance has. It is looking to make use of all the connections that Reliance has. It is also looking to go into the brand name that Reliance has, and it has already started disrupting. And one thing that I really like about, or maybe dislike about, whatever, however you want to take it, Geo is never Geo is not really looking to do any minority investment in any of the startups that it has invested in. It is always like the goal of Geo is very very clear. They want to have a majority stake so that they can actually control the company that they're going to work with, and it is just working fine for them. And we might not be able to see the results in the immediate future, but I think in the coming time, once we maybe like once we give a couple more years or maybe 5 years to Geo is going to be a big brand name, just because they are already the biggest smartphone player in the world. I mean, sorry, not the smartphone, telecom player in India. They already have people actually using their own SIM cards. They have people using their data. So just based on that, I think they can just monetize it in the way they want. They can just start offering services just with the just like they have started doing it with Geo Giga Fiber. They're now giving you Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hotstar just with that 399. Or I think Geo Postpaid also they have started doing that. So Geo can just bundle up the services. That's the future. Subscription plans are the future, and the less subscription plans that you have, the less the better it is for the telecom companies as well as for you. So Geo is actually looking to get into that. I hope that answers your question, Piyush. Uh, Dhanraj, it'll be great if we can upload some Indian startup success stories. Certainly, like we are actually planning on to doing that. You should see a few more videos on that in a few. Flipkart has been the biggest story to come out of India, and that's why we did a Flipkart case study last year, this year actually. So we did a Flipkart case study. Please check that out, Dhanraj, and let me know what you feel about it. And if you already checked that out, please let me know in the comment section what do you feel about that. And we are certainly working on more case studies where we talk about both. We talk about failed as well as successful startups from India. Great Tiger, startup funding problem. Well, everyone has that problem. You have to make sure, like, what you are doing is better than the others who are getting funded. Uh, Aryan, best way to approach investors? I think that's a question for my Startup 101 video. I think I have already spoken about a couple of times. Um Best way to start up, the thing is you have to be very certain. You have to be very sure that which are the startup investors that you are approaching. A lot of times what we do is we simply just make a list of 1000 investors and we just email all of them. So in that case, because there are certain investors who only want to invest in certain sectors, there are certain investors who only want to invest at particular stage. There are few angel investors who are just like, okay, if you can give me a valuation of less than $1 million, I'll invest in your company. There are few investors who say that till the time you're not doing 50,000 daily active users, till the time you do not have a valuation, or till the time you do not have more investors investing in you. So there are a lot of these things which actually work when which come into picture when you are talking to these investors. So the thing you need to make in keep in mind, the thing you need to make sure is the investors that you are approaching are the right investors for your business, are the right investors who have already invested in these sectors, or they're interested in these sectors. And most of the investors are very easily approachable, I guess. They're available on LinkedIn. They have their email IDs in public domain. The only thing is you have to be sure, like, they because they just look at the email in less than 5 to 10 seconds, and if they think that there is something which is good for them, which is interesting for them, they reply to that, or else it just goes in the trash folder of their email ID. EMC2, bro, I'm 15 and I have many ideas. I'm learning coding and has a kind of stuff. So I think I don't know what your name is, but if you're 15 and if you're just learning coding, keep learning coding and try to be better and best in that. Just sharpen your skills in coding. And what are the languages you're learning? If what are the technologies you're learning? Maybe if you can share a little bit more idea about that. But uh, because you're aware at that age, this is a big thing, because you want to do something different at that age, that is commendable. So good luck with that and keep working, keep sharpening your skills, and I'm pretty sure you'll figure your way out. Aryan, you want to join us? What are the criterias? Well, the criterias to join us are you have to tell us like how you can be helpful to us, and how you can be helpful to us, and what are your skills. With that, maybe just write us an email at backstagewithmillennials@gmail.com, and someone will be in touch with you pretty quickly. Piyush, are you looking for a finance guy? What do you mean by finance guy? Like, are you looking to manage your finances? Well, we don't earn almost anything as of today, so we are certainly not looking. If you're looking to invest in a company, maybe whatever your query is, it'll be really good if you can just email us. Storytel Audible का business model पे case study बनाइए. Okay, Mr. Hudi Baba. I love the names at times. So yes, I mean, Audible Storytel is certainly not in the list of our immediate case studies, but certainly, like, I haven't really been following them, so maybe I'll just check it out, and if it is something interesting, I'll certainly try to, we will certainly try to make a thing on that. So, can you please tell new ideas for your startup, Sharma Ki Dunya? So as like I have been saying, I am not the one to tell you the ideas because I do not know what your skills are. I do not know what your expertise are. I do not know where you live. I do not know where your what your background is. So I can simply just tell you thousands of ideas, but I don't know which one of them will be working for you. So you have to come up with. You have to maybe look at, look around what are the issues that people are facing around you. You have to make sure that what are the things that are around you which are concerning people. What is something that is bothering you or something, always try to come up with a solution for that. Find other people who also have that problem, sell it to them, and that's how startups work. That's how startups are built. So see, Dinesh, our video was on registering the company in India. Registering a company in India was amazing. Thanks for that. Thank you very much. Though I got a few comments that either I was speaking too fast, or also like we have to maybe do a little bit more information on the screen. It's only me talking for those 8 minutes. So I think we will be taking those feedbacks pretty seriously. But thank you very much that you enjoyed it. And there might be a follow up video on that, Dinesh. So please wait for that. Future of agricultural startups, agri-tech startups, Great Tiger. I have already spoken about it. India is a country which has like I think one of the biggest farmlands, one of the biggest amount of agricultural lands in the world. But because our production is not that much, because we haven't really employed technology in that, because the governments have failed to actually take that sort of decisions, that sort of initiatives. So now that actually agricultural sector, now that startups coming into agricultural sector, now that startups are bringing technology into that, right from production to to actually getting that to the sellers to selling finally, there is actually a lot of tech play right now in agricultural sector. And I think we have already started to see that sort of response. We have already, so I think we made a video on top 10 agri tech startups in India, and that video is one of the most watched videos on our channel. So please go check that out, and you will certainly know about a lot more agri-tech startups as of today. And as I said, like agri-tech, ed tech, these are the things, and maybe health tech if you combine artificial intelligence and machine learning with that. These are the things that India is going to boom in the next 3 to 5 years. So Nishant, your question is that we should really work in a startup ecosystem before starting one, or it is just a matter of how much risk you can take. So as I've been saying, like this really depends on different people. A lot of people, might just want to uh, secure their future, so they actually want to work in a corporate company. They just want to have some savings and then start. If you are so it really depends on what is your risk taking ability, what is your idea that you're working on, and do you think that you can spend your next 5 to 10 years working on that one idea. And if you think, if you're positive in that, if you think you might just work without maybe earning a lot of money in next 1 or 2 years, or even if, like as I said, like depends on your startup idea, you might even start earning from day one. So depending on the kind of risk ability you have, depending on the kind of idea that you have, it depends. Like it might be a good idea to work in a startup, it might not be a good idea to work in a startup and start as soon as possible. So just maybe, as I said, like please take your decision on that. I can just try to provide you a little bit of supporting information on that if you can be a little bit more specific on your question. But if you as I said, like I don't know your abilities, I don't know your background, and that's like it'll be a little bit difficult for me to answer that. Uh, Blaring Blaze, Varun has shared the backstage millennial story video URL in this chat. So please check that out. You will know like who am I, who is Caleb, who is Varun, and why did we start this channel, when did we start this channel, and how it has been going on. So I am Prithvi, if that answers your question. But if you have any more questions after watching that story video, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer to that. But before that, as I said, like we have already made a detailed video on right on this question. Um, Satvik Narayan, we are certainly interested in collaboration with other digital creators, but as I said, like we have been very busy in creating the kind of content, so that we haven't really looked at possible collaborations. We haven't really looked at the kind of opportunities that are available, and we haven't even looked at maybe the kind of people who are available, or the kind of other people, like how can we be helpful to them and how can those be helpful to us. So these are the things which, now that we are actually certainly looking at these things more actively, because we have a sizable user base, because we have a sizable numbers to show to people. So if you are something, if you have some opportunity, feel free to please email us, and we can certainly look at that. Ud- Udayan, I don't know how to say this name. Okay, how to feel find venture capitalists and angel investors. How to find venture capitalists and angel investors. I think Udayan, one of your Google search can just do this for you. As I said, like figure out what are the best investors for you. Do not just send your pitch deck to 1,000 investors that you get on internet. It's just avail like it does depends. Find out the people who have already invested in the sectors like you, who have already invested in those sort of stages, and it shouldn't be a big task. uh, Sebastian, why don't we start a podcast where we may have long, deep conversation with the highly successful people? Uh, well, as I said, like we are a very limited team. We were three people till now. Now we have hired a few more people. So um, I think we like our output capacity was so limited. We didn't really have a lot of resources to keep doing a lot of things. So we were sort of getting decent response in what we were doing now. I mean, we were doing before when we started, and this year once the lockdown hit and we could not do any more interviews that we were doing, so that's when we started with those more different kind of videos. But we certainly have podcast on our list on our so once the COVID settles, because right now we and I think we are already beginning to do with that. We are already trying to do a few live interviews. So a podcast, the definition of podcast could be just different for different people. So maybe you will see something similar to that, if not exactly what you think of a podcast be in maybe this month or next month. Oh, you are also 15. Thank you. I mean, congratulations for actually realizing, and congratulations for putting your efforts to try and be better at that age. It's amazing to actually see more and more youngsters to be that aware, and to know that what they're doing and what they want to do. Deepesh, thank you very much. We are certainly going to make more and more content. We have been trying to trying our level best to manage the kind of quality that we have, and also to produce as much as possible. So thank you very much that you are a subscriber now, and I hope to see more and more of your comments in the coming days. Gorang, your age is 17. Which advice will you give me to successful entrepreneur in near future? The only thing I will say you is be a little bit observant, be updated with what is going on around you, be updated about the kind of problems that you have around you, and what is that one thing that you, because at this age, like the teenage, we are actually very, very impatient. We do not want to stick to one thing, for a longer period of time. So you have to be sure, you have to figure out that what is that one thing that you can spend your next 5 to 10 or maybe 20, 30 years working on. And once you have that thing, you will certainly find your way to do that. uh, Deepesh, try to stick with the case studies rather than news. We are trying to figure out if there is a way that we can actually do both of them, because news is also one thing that has actually given us a lot of potential, that has given us a lot of outreach. So we are looking for the best ways possible where we can actually make case studies while continuing with the news items that we are doing. So Sebastian, yeah, certainly it looks like we have a lot of ambitious teams in the chat, and it's amazing. As I said, like we have also the Discord server. So I think someday, maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll decide a time and we will just, because I love interacting with teenagers, I love interacting with students. I keep going to a lot of colleges to actually talk about entrepreneurship, about startups, about the ambitions in general that the teenagers have. So maybe on our Discord server, if you have already, if you have not um, joined our Discord server, please go there and join it now. And I cannot wait to actually have a chat with all of you on that server, maybe today or tomorrow, or and like we can certainly decide a time on that. Um, Jack, why do you think Indian gaming industry has not boomed yet? India is like the sleeping giant in the gaming industry. India is the biggest, like one of the biggest markets after, like actually the biggest market after China. India is even in the technology development. India is almost one of the biggest markets, and there are actually a lot of Indian gaming startups. Which have already boomed. But as you said, like as the whole internet penetration as well as like the internet revolution has started in India since the launch of Geo in 2016, we will like these things do not happen in a day. These things do not happen in a year. So maybe in next 2 to 3 years or 5 years, you will see a lot more of it. The gaming industry has certainly boomed a lot more in the last few months, since the time everyone was locked down in their houses. So maybe the next time we actually hear about the numbers of the gaming industry in India, it'll be like much different than how it was in 2019. So from 2019 to 2020, you will see a big boom, and just wait for these numbers. Just wait for a lot of these companies to actually share their numbers or raise more funds at at like huge valuations. So why do you think, Jack, like the Indian gaming industry hasn't boomed yet? Uh, Kaivalya, what are your thoughts on global rental industry? What do you mean by global rental industry? Um, really don't like. You will have to provide me a little bit more details, Kavalya. Uh, Bhavesh, how to get clients for freelancing? Uh, well, this is a broad question, and as I said, like you have to just be sure. You have to just ask yourself, like, why should one client hire you and not the other people who are already there on the freelancing platforms? Are you providing better prices? Are you providing better service? Do you have an experience? Do you have references? Work on these four things, and you will certainly have your way in the freelancing industry. Good luck with that. You're a web developer, so yeah, you can just simply go to these Upwork, freelancing.com, freelancers.com, a lot of these Facebook groups, a lot of these Facebook communities, and as I said, maybe just create a portfolio of yours, even if you have to provide your services in lesser amount, or maybe even for free to a few people, just to do your portfolio. And once you have a portfolio, once you can show people your work, that okay, this is what I have done, this is what I have worked on, and this is my talent, these are my skills, then people will certainly hire you. But you will need to build a portfolio if you're just beginning with that. So, Troy, what's the best process to attract angel investing for seed funding? Uh, the best process is nothing but just to reach out to people. Maybe just reach out to these angel investors on LinkedIn, angel.co. There are a lot of these platforms. So as I said, like the best thing actually works is not how to reach to these investors. It's the how to make those investors reply back to you. And as I said, like investors, because we don't really do a little bit of these research about investors, we just take a pitch deck and send it to 1,000 investors who are there on a list. So investors have a attention span of less than 5 to 10 seconds. So in that 5 to 10 seconds, either your the subject of your email or the first few lines of your email, if they can make that investor interested, if you think that sector or that sort of companies that investor is interested in, you will certainly have a reply back from these investors. But as like if you're just doing a cold emailing session to 1,000 different investors, you might not really be successful in getting that their reply. So as I said, like just make a list of those 10 or 20 people, those 10 or 20 investors who have invested in something similar to this, who have invested in maybe either your competitors or something like that, or they have invested in the stage that you are at, and you will certainly find some sort of success. Dipesh, I am an entrepreneur. Yes, you can say that. I don't know what is going on in the chat. Varun has slightly sort of given a warning. I think there is some sort of chat going on. Um, Aryan, is it necessary to continue MVP model till you grab funding? No, it's not necessary. Like obviously there is no rule book which is giving you the rules, which is telling you what to do. It just depends if you can maybe go to full-fledged product before raising funds. If you have that sort of potential, if you think you have that sort of resources, if you have that sort of funds, if you already have paying customers and you think you can build your product to the maximum capacities and then launch into the market. So like you are the driver of your startup, you are the driver of that car or whatever it is. So you can make your decisions. However, if you think things are working fine for you and if you have enough money in your bank to actually fund the development of a product, or the manufacturing or whatever your product is, so there is no one who is telling you these. Obviously, like if you launch your product which is in the full-fledged state and then you go to the angel invest or any investors, VCs, you will certainly get better valuation to your startup. So yeah, it just depends on what sort of decision are you taking, what sort of product you are building, what sort of company you're building. And there is no rule book which says that you cannot build a product before going for funding and you have to stick to an MVP. Harsh, I'm sorry that you read BMW. Hi Karen, I'm good, how are you? um, Rama Singh, did I hear about Masai Practo like startup? What about your opinion? They provide training and job, and after that they take money. Rama Singh, I have not heard about it, and as I said, like if I have not researched or if I do not know about a startup or about a simple sector, I do not want to comment on that. So I do not know about it. Maybe I can just check about it and tell you in the next live session. but for now I don't want to comment because I have no idea about it. A small kid, nice name. So your age does not matter, no matter how much you are. If you really just want to take literal examples, look at the guy who started Oyo. He was almost just around 20 when he started Oyo and when he actually got the first funding. So if you have a good idea, figure out how you can actually execute that and figure out how you can really make it big. Age does not matter. It might just matter around your circles, but once you are actually in the professional circles, once you can make people convinced, and once you can make people believe that you have that sort of talent and you have that sort of potential, your age will not matter. Pranay, we certainly want to bring Kunal Shah in the podcast. Like, he is one of those most resourceful persons. So we have been trying actually, and I think we sort of did stop reaching out to these people, all of these people, once this Corona wave hit India. So once the whole thing settles, we will certainly try our level best to bring him to our podcast, and let's see how that goes. Great Tiger, in India, e-commerce or social media field, etc., totally dominance of US companies, no one single Indian companies. Uh, well, you said e-commerce. Flipkart, I think, is more popular than Amazon in India. I don't know how, like, I haven't not really followed the latest reports, but the last time I did, Flipkart, if not, it was more popular. It was giving like neck to neck competition to Amazon. So you might even argue now that Flipkart is no more an Indian company, or Flipkart was never an Indian company, but Flipkart was started in India by Indians. So I think I would consider it as an Indian company, even though it is acquired by Walmart as of today. But just because Walmart saw some sort of potential in that, that's why they spent all those 16 billion rupees, $16 billion in buying Flipkart. So there are actually a lot of these things. As I said, like India has not really been that market of business, market of entrepreneurs, because we have always looked at, okay, if you have some sort of talent, you can just go to US or UK and then start there, because we always looked at those markets, we have always looked at those countries as more lucrative ones. So now that whole thing is changing. Now that there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are finally not hesitating in starting in India. So as I said, like the coming decade, the decade that we are in, is India's decade, and we will see a lot of these big companies starting in India and becoming big in India. Troy, you're starting a highly scalable startup. What should I go directly to Series A funding? um, what do you mean by you should directly go to a Series A funding? As I think I spoke in my series of rounds of funding video in Startup 101 series, that there is no rule book which is telling like which is your Series A and which is your seed funding. I have seen a lot of startups even raising 30 million, like Cred, I think, raised $30 million even before they were started, even before anyone knew that there is a company called Cred. They only knew that Kunal Shah is starting a new company, and they raised $30 million from Shikoya. So, and they still considered that round as a seed round. So the naming of your rounds is just an understanding between you and your investors. So either it is Series A or Series B, or maybe even seed round or angel round. It just depends on as I said, like your understanding with your investor. Sorry. Sebastian, you think the content we guys are making is not accordingly to the trend going on? Try adding some youngsters, they'll help you a lot in popping. Sebastian, we have, like, as I said, like, we have not really planned to be with the trend. We have not really planned to just look at the most trending topics and make videos. When we started, we just were doing some sort of interview videos, which obviously has no trend. But now with this new news videos or something, we are trying to be with the trend a little bit. But as I said, like, we have never been focused only on the views. We have never done any sort of clickbait kind of videos or clickbait kind of titles or thumbnails. We always just wanted to make sure that whatever we are building is sort of a base for the coming months or the coming years. And now that we see, now that our channel has sort of picked up in the last few weeks, we actually see a lot of our previous videos who are getting a lot of traction now. So this, like, we were actually thinking about these things right from day one, that whenever our channel picks up, whenever we actually see a lot of people watching our videos, they will try and they will actually discover the videos that we have already created, 200 odd videos that we have done. So this has been our focus from day one, but certainly, like, we are adding these youngsters. We are also, that's the reason I'm doing these live, to interact with people, to actually know that what people are expecting, what people are actually liking, what people are disliking. And that is one of the reasons why we started that Discord server, so that we can be connected to our subscribers. We can be connected to them like 24/7, and they can just keep giving us ideas. So if you think that there is some sort of idea which we should make videos on, if you think there is some sort of idea which we should implement in our day-to-day working, please feel free to either write here, write on, in the comment section of any of our videos, or you can even email us. And it'll be really great if you can, any feedback that you guys have. And it's really great to actually, hear from you people. It's always amazing to actually implement some sort of feedback that we have gotten in the comment sections. And we are always open to that. Like, I'll never say no to criticism. It's just that, like, it helps us become better. Yes, Varun has shared the Discord server uh, link in the comment section. So maybe you can just check it out. Join us if you haven't joined us already. And I look forward to chat with all of you guys on Discord. Venus, hi Prithvi, I've done B in EXTC domain. EXTC, I have no clue about what it is. You learn Python, but now moving to learning Java. Should I continue with Python? Uh, Venus, Java as well as Python, both are very broad. Both are very, like, both have amazing future. Both have amazing potential. Java has already been around for a lot of time. Python is something that has just picked up in last few years, and Python is certainly something which is now being used to actually build a lot of these complicated web applications. So you, both of them have potential, as I said. Like, you think, which you decide, whichever you have better command on. And either of these can make you successful. Either of these, you can find a lot of job opportunities. You can, either of these, if you actually have the mastery of it. If you just want to sail in two boats, if you think, okay, I'll just study 50 or 70% of Java, and if I just study 70% of Python, you might not be able to get anywhere. But if you think that you can just be an expert of any of these language, you have a good future. So I hope that answers your question, Venus. Kiran Sai, bro, can you tell me about AI startup? As I said, like, very, very broad question again. I will have to skip these sort of questions. Hardik, what do you think about the Nazara Games IPO plans in 2021? Yeah, that's one company which has really been doing amazing, phenomenal since last few years, and they have simply just picked up in last year and this year. What do I think about the IPO? Well, IPO is something which we actually consider as a validation of how the public, how the general public, or how the whole country or the stock market is actually looking at us. But we actually have been seeing a lot of these tech IPOs in last few days. Naukri, I think, was one of the initial start initial IPOs. We saw Happiest Mind IPO just, I think, a few weeks back. We saw Root Mobile IPO a few weeks back, and both of them were, like, accepted amazingly. They were subscribed like hundreds of times of their initial offering. So Indian stockholders, or Indian stock traders are actually looking at these tech IPOs. They already know that there have been a lot of these companies who are doing amazing, and this certainly provides an amazing platform to even the Nazara Games and even to people who want to buy their shares. So I'm very positive about it. Let me know what do you think about it. Nishant, you have two startup ideas in edtech, not for profit and e-commerce, for which I am writing documentation. I'm a web developer and come from computer science background. I belong to a middle class family. So, okay, what was your so yeah, edtech not for profit is again. I think that's pretty good. Like, if you can just if you can reach out to these foundations, if you can reach out to these big media houses, or sorry, big family offices, and if there is something that you're doing, there are a lot of these foundations like Azim Premji Foundation, Bill Gates Foundation, Gates and Melinda Foundation, I think the name is. So there are actually a lot of these things. So you can certainly work on that. But as I said, like, if it is not for profit, you have to make sure that your skills to reach out to people, your skills to talk to people, and your skills to actually deliver things on ground have to be phenomenal, have to be impeccable. So good luck with that. I think this is a good idea. As I still don't have a lot of details about it, but just the thought process behind it, I think seems good. Kiran Sai, what is your message? I think I have replied to that. Uh, Venus, yeah, as I said, like, if you think Python is something that has to be your go-to language, or go-to technology that you really want to make your career in, uh, be sure to have like 100% command on that, and you will certainly have pretty good on that. should I really consider working in a startup ecosystem to earn and stabilize myself financially, or should I keep working on the idea of as a side hustle? Nishant, so if you really think that you have uh, some sort of financial commitments, if you think you have some sort of responsibilities, then it certainly works, as if you can just go into that. But if you think you can give a little bit of your time before earning anything, or if you can give a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 years of your time just to building this. So as I said, like, building great things takes time, so you have to decide, can you wait for that? If you cannot wait for that, that's certainly, like as you said, work in a startup, earn some money, be financially stable, and then work for that. And you can simply just keep working as a side hustle. But yeah, I mean, as I said, like, you are a better person to answer that and not me, because it more or less depends on the kind of situation that you are in right now. Kaivalya, global rental industry in a sense that make taking more and more things on rent rather than buying them. For example, clothing on rental, laptops and technological items. Yes, I mean, this is something that has certainly been working in last few years, because I think are more cautious about our social image. I think there was one rent on go or something. There was one renting startups in India. They actually started renting out shirts. Like, they would send you 5 shirts every week, just cleaned and ironed, and that actually, I think, gained a lot of traction. So people are actually now looking at a lot of these things. People are obviously looking at uh, changing their car every year, changing their mobile phone every 6 months or every year, and looking, obviously they do not want to wear those same clothes again and again for years. So this is something which is really, really working well, which has been working well. But a lot of people are still not very open to actually accepting these challenges, because or accepting these new advancements. Because as I said, like, in India, we have, or anywhere in anywhere in the world, the middle class population is like much more than the highly, or the upper middle class population, or the upper class population, who can actually afford a rental subscription for a shirt or for a car, who would want to change their car or change their mobile phone every year or every 6 months. So the only drawback in this is the kind of people that you will be targeting are very, very limited. And it really takes much more efforts to actually reach out to those people and convince them to subscribe to your services. But if that is something that you can crack, if that is something that you can work on, this is one thing that has really been picking up in last few years. Gorank, again, what do I think of a startup idea? Very broad thing. I won't be answering that. Uh, what is the future of small scale cotton industry to start? Sanjeev, what do you mean by a small scale cotton industry? Are you just looking to buy cotton from farmers and just make a thread and sell it to the mills, or are you looking to actually buy the thread or buy that and make some sort of clothes from that? Like, what do you mean by cotton industry? What do you Because cotton industry has a lot of these small things. If you are actually looking for a small scale, I'm assuming that you're only looking for one activity. You are not looking at directly buying cotton from the farmers and making those clothes, because there are a lot of these steps involved in that. So which step are you talking about? Which of these steps are you talking about? So maybe give me a little bit more detail about it. Halchal baby, how can I build a supercar startup although I cannot afford to buy even an Endeavor? I have the knowledge, but I don't have the funds. Well, in these things, I think a lot of times we keep hearing a lot of these people who literally just started, or who built helicopters, or who built a car just from whatever they could find at a junkyard, whoever they could find at a waste shop. So as I said, like, when there is a will, there is a way. Obviously, like, I cannot just give you just a one word answer or just one line answer, and you'll be able to just build your supercar the next day. You will have to figure that out. There are Just look for second hand stuff. Just look for any car which has maybe met with an accident, and people are just looking to sell it in scrap. Just try to accommodate those products, and whatever you need, just make a list of that. What are the things that you need? Maybe have some people around you to fund it. You can just sell them the idea, or you can just tell them that, okay, this is what I'm building. Maybe friends or family members. Collect some funds, and yeah, good luck with that. uh, Mojo Jojo, yeah, I think you are just replying to Sanjeev's question. Kaivalya, I think I have already answered that. What is the process of raising funds? Abhinav, I have already answered that in one of the Startup 101 videos, and I keep just telling, I think even in this video, I have answered this before. Just reach out to these investors. Make sure that you're reaching out to the right investors, and I think Aryan, does MVP stats really matter during investment pitch? No. I mean, again, it depends on the kind of investors, the kind of valuation that you're putting. If you are just looking to raise funds for just building an MVP and actually have the first traction, because there are a lot of startups which also raise funds just on the idea stage when they do not have any stats, when they do not have any traction, when they do not have any revenue. So it really depends on the kind of strategy. It really depends on the kind of investor that you're talking to. If there is an investor who only invest in revenue making startups, there are also a lot of these angel investors or seed these VCs, like early stage VCs, who can also invest if you have an MVP, if you have a proper execution plan ready for your company. So like it's not a mandatory thing. It again depends on case to case basis. uh, Debashish, you want to know my views on the recent Ant Financials valuation of 313 billion and bids of $3 trillion. Well, this has been one company which has been making rounds. Obviously, they have invested in a lot of companies. They have a much bigger portfolio, and they have just with the kind of anti-China sentiment we have seen. For now, I think this is something which is not an immediate thing to comment on. We will see like how it plans out, how the IPO actually happens, and what is like maybe in next 1 or 2 years, how much valuation or how much returns it can give to the investors who are going to invest in this IPO. So I think we'll just have to wait and watch for that. Reasons of Israel's successful startup industry. Israeli successful startup industry, the reason behind that, Great Tiger, the biggest reason has been the government support. I think the whole startup industry cannot function, cannot work if we do not have the uh, support from the government, the kind of policies that they have had, the kind of I think there was one video which I have watched. We haven't really made any video on that, but I think this will be a really good video for us to make on this channel. But one of the things that Israeli government has done, they have been very, very specific. They have been very, very aggressive on getting the patents. They have been very aggressive on getting new technologies. And there have been a lot of these people who actually, whenever they file a patent or whenever they are working onto a startup. So there is a team which is working for the government of Israel. They actually reach out to those people and give them offers to actually come back to Israel and work on their products and actually give all the intellectual property to the government of Israel. And that is one of the reasons like why they have been so aggressive in promoting technology. That's the reason that they're, I think, actually best in literally everything. They're best in agri-tech as of today. They're best in defense as of today. They're best in like I think softwares and other hardware manufacturing as of today. The only thing is like maybe not the only thing. The biggest thing is the support of the government of Israel. Rishikesh, is MBA still worth in the current scenario? Also, would it be possible for start my startup along with doing a job? Certainly, it is possible, and certainly MBA is still relevant. The only thing is how you plan to use your MBA degree. How do you think that MBA will be helpful in your thing? If you are starting something, if you think you need a lot of bookish knowledge, if you think that you need to have your concepts cleared, in that case certainly MBA is cleared, MBA is needed or MBA is relevant. And if you think that there is something that you already have proper idea of, and if you think that maybe a couple of years of work experience or 3 years of work experience will give you more skills than an MBA, then like because all of us think different, like what I think might not really be applicable on you and what you think might not be applicable on me. So as I said, like what is your thought process? What do you think an MBA will give you, and what do you really want to do with that MBA? How do you want to use that degree? If you can answer those questions for you, I think you will have a clarity on that. Manan, I'm not going to tell you the definition of marketing. You can simply just go and Google that. Kaivalya, should I work on that kind of idea? You can certainly uh, work on that. As I said, like, the only thing is the kind of people you'll be targeting. They are very hard to convince and they are very hard to approach. So if you have that sorted out, this has an amazing future. Go for it. Nishant, you have joined the Discord. Thank you very much. And yes, I certainly look forward to talk to you guys on the Discord server after this. And Shivan, like your videos, thank you very much for 3 reasons: the honesty, integrity, and the content. Keep going, Prithvi and team. Thank you very much, Shivan. And I think I did see your comment on the last week. Like this is the first time in last 3 weeks that we are actually doing live on the designated timing. Like last week, I had to just prepone it, and last week we had to do it on Monday because I was still traveling. So I I hope you are actually enjoying this live session, Shivan, and hope to see you guys more and more in the coming time. What to do with startup ideas? Jectron, again, please refrain from asking such sort of questions. Aryan investor programs versus approaching investors personally, which is better? Both are better. Like again, there are investor programs where the investors are always flooded with pitch decks. So that is one thing that you have to keep in mind. And as I said, like a lot of these investor programs are either they are looking at some sort of specific sectors, either they are just looking for agri-tech startups or edtech startups or something like that, or they are looking for some specific sectors, or some sort of specific stages of startups. But when you are simply directly reaching out to these investors personally, that's when you actually get a lot of time, or maybe if they're actually interested in your startup, if they're interested in your pitch deck, then it might just be better for me. Like, doesn't matter, you just have to get that reply back from the investor. Okay, I think there was some issue in the stream. I think I just left, just this app crashed. So can you see me again? Can you, am I back? Anyone, if anyone can just tell me this. Okay, thank you, Shatish. So where I was and what was I talking about? Yes, the investor programs as well as approaching investors directly. So the only thing which matters is you have to get a reply back from the investor. No matter how that works, no matter how you get the reply back. So Aryan, good luck with that. Uh, how to do startup during college? Zero and one, you have to make your priorities right. You have to make sure you are not just wasting time on anything on the useless activities, and just give time to your startup as well as your studies. And I think you should be able to do well. Rolls Royce, which book or sources do you recommend for learning about basic entrepreneurship? We have already spoken about it. I'm not the best person to actually give you books ideas, so maybe we'll make a video about it. And we might just get some entrepreneur who can talk about his love of books. And maybe please keep watching this space for more. Zero and one, you are an entrepreneur 101 series in which there is a series of Gorank, I did not get your question. Maybe if you can just give me a little bit more detail. Zero and one, I'm just asking. I'm in the college first year, IIT, Triple IT, BHU. Uh, you can do that. I mean, if you are in Triple IT, IIT, BHU, Triple IT, BHU. I think it is IIT, BHU. Okay, if you are in IIT, BHU, I'm pretty sure you will have a lot of people around you who are already working on things. You will have a lot of amazing people around you. So just go and interact with them. And I'm pretty sure there are already a lot of people there in that campus working on startups. So you do not need my advice in that. But I'm just asking, how can I start my startup? What should I do? What I think you also have an innovation cell, or you also have an entrepreneurship cell, which can work, which can help you in executing your plan. So just reach out to those people. And as I said, if there is something specific that you have, maybe just be more specific with your question. How do you think of a speaker manufacturing startup after anti-China sentiments? Shit is, I think I have been telling you this since a lot of time. It is not only that what I think about it. Whenever you are starting with manufacturing business, the kind of funds that you have, it always depends how much you can really spend in that, and also if you can keep your prices lower than that, because you might just be looking at manufacturing maybe hundreds or thousands of speakers every day, but the kind of manufacturing facilities that China has, they would be manufacturing millions of these things every day. And because they have everything in place, because they have been manufacturing them for years, they might be able to manufacture a speaker in one tenth of the cost that you will be able to do that in India. Even if we are not considering any sort of excise or customs duty. So you have to work on those things. Like obviously being excited or being enthusiastic is another thing. But if you can beat the kind of pricing that China is selling, look at the pricing that these wholesalers are getting in India. Look at the pricing that at which China is selling to these wholesalers. And if you think you can beat that pricing, it's an amazing thing, and good luck for that. Utkarsh, is it worth to become a chartered accountant? Certainly, it is. It is worth. Like it is worth doing everything. The only thing is you have to be better than the other people around you. So if you think you are a good accountant, if you think you enjoy working with accounts and working with those numbers, it is certainly an amazing job to do. Dhruv Parekh, which is the best company category for film production? Best company category for film production. I am sorry, I don't have any idea about it. Uh, Kaivalya, thank you very much. You're welcome. Rishikesh, does vertical farming have a future in India? Can we compare with the can it compete with traditional farming? I think in a lot of cities we are already doing vertical farming. In a lot of cities we are because we are already doing kitchen farming and roof farming. We also are doing the I'm not getting that word. So it can compete with traditional farming certainly if you are looking to do something, let's say around a city, and if you think you can already sell to the people in that particular city, where you have lesser spaces, where you have more and more demand. But it can certainly compete with traditional farming. But the thing is, in India we have not even utilized, or we have not even made use of the agricultural land that we have for traditional farming. Like, even if we have a lot more technology in the traditional farming, we can literally just maybe increase our output by 5 to 10x. So uh, just asking your question just answering your question in one word, it certainly has a future. You just have to make sure, you just have to figure out how you can really make that future. uh, okay, so I think this is we will just take maybe one or two more questions. Anyone else planning to start a digital marketing company? How should I approach? Just get few investors and just get started with that. Gorang, I was asking, do you have a series of videos in Mentor Entrepreneur 101? I have, again, I did not get your question. YouTube watcher, we can certainly start a startup in just like less than a day. It just depends on your idea. In India, you can, if you're talking about registering a company, if you're talking about starting up a startup legally, you can certainly do that in less than 10 days now. The compliances, the kind of time taken in these compliances has reduced drastically in last few years. So you can do that. What is the future innovation ideas? Sabir, very broad. Kartikeya, what about autonomous cars in India? Well, I think more than that, we'll have to first look at the way that we drive. So it is certainly still a distant future, but you can never rule that out. You can, uh, obviously, the coming future will be interesting. Please tell me about the American Amazon RIL dispute. Manan, I think we have already spoken about that in our last news video. Uh, Amazon had shown interest in buying Future Retail that owns big bazaar stores in India, and now that RIL is buying that, I think that's the dispute. I haven't not really followed it completely, but we did cover it in the last the news video that came yesterday. Create an Indian-owned search engine like China, really possible in India. Great Tiger, you can certainly create that. If you are talking about us, we certainly do not have that sort of uh, resources as of today. Do you know platforms which provide data collection for image, or I have no clue about that sort of. Maybe if you can just email us, I can do a little bit more research and let you know. Uh, yes, as Varun said, we have spoken about that Amazon RIL dispute in our news video. Ashwin, I'm from Rajasthan. I'm from Ajmer, and I think that I have answered every single question that was given to me. And um, Madan Kumar, I think let's just keep it for next time. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining in on a Sunday morning. It was amazing discussion, and I think my answers that I gave were on the mark, on par for you guys. And I'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend and have a good week ahead. And let's talk next Sunday. And if you have not joined our Discord server, please join that, and I'll be much more active on Discord and keep talking to you guys a lot more in the chats. So the Discord server is in this chat, and we will also make a community post again. I think the last thing we did, the last link has expired. So maybe if we can, yes, there is once more. Varun has shared the Discord server in the chat. Let's join that. Let's engage in some good discussions. Thank you very much, and we will see you. I'll see you next week. And yep, bye.